What we're proving, Carly, is that the slippery slope is real because a few years ago, all you did, little old innocent you, was put up an Instagram video sharing your experiences as a small business owner, experiences that were shared amongst many Victorians, and that's why that video went viral. But that was just the gateway drug, Carly. That was just the gateway drug. And look at you, just a few years later, you've slid down that slippery slope and you're going to be standing on the steps of Parliament as a true blue rabble-rousing troublemaker with parliamentary petitions and everything.
I think they're all going, fuck. We mucked around with the wrong chick because I think they thought that, she'll go away now. And then they're like, shit. It's like Medusa. They cut my head off and spawned 20,000 others.
So do you remember?
Bigger than the one before it.
Do you remember, and you may not because you were in the thick of, you were in a living hell at the time, and I mean that as about as close to literally as you can be without actual flames. So you may not remember this, but I'll try and jog your memory. Do you remember that a group came to you purporting to be crisis management people and saying that they would help you, right? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And then you thankfully came to me. And you said, hey, this doesn't feel right. There's something about this that's off. And we went through what they'd said to you. And quite literally what they said was, hey, we do this professionally. We normally charge a lot of money, but we're going to do it for you for free, right? Now, some people can do that sincerely, but sometimes what that means is there's something else at play. There's another agenda at play. Do you remember what their advice to you was? Yeah,
that's it. Go away. Never show your face again. Get off the internet.
Log off, shut down all your accounts. You will never be able to go online again. That was their advice to you. And they came to you pretending to be a friend.
Yes, indeed.
Now, I don't think they did that for free, and I don't think they did that as a friend. I think someone saw you and spent money engaging their services to try and get you out of the fight for good. And I'm very glad they failed.
I'm not going to say who it was, but I actually know who it was. And it was a sitting MP at the time.
Well, there you go. Okay. Well, whatever it is, I don't know what that is. So whatever happened sounds like it is exactly what I sensed. So, yeah.
It was deliberate. And as was the hit job on me, I happen to know that it was definitely the private cabinet of the Premier that did what they did. So.
Was it? Trollia, you're late. We've only got half the number of comments that we should have by this stage of the show.
Bloody hell, Amanda. Come on.
Pull your socks up. I don't care what woke stuff you were doing. It's less important than we are. You need to show up on time in future. Otherwise, you'll be fired. They're there.
I was talking to Tim Quilty today about those boxes in Melbourne, and he was saying the majority of the cost is chewed up paying the layers of bureaucrats involved. Of course it is. Of course it is. This is the red tape thing. And if you guys remember last week, I talked about, it was specifically about Queensland, but they had a productivity council. I'm not lying. That's it. It's called the Productivity Council, whose job is to form a committee to then go and look at how productive businesses can be. And what they found was this was just to sell a simple cup of coffee in Brisbane. There were 31 steps of regulation a cafe or wherever had to jump through to be able to sell you that cup of coffee. So when it comes to the boxes, of course, that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love this one. The CFMEU probably needed a crane. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the thing is, corruption in this country doesn't happen with brown paper bags anymore because it doesn't have to. It happens in plain sight. A lot of it happens in the area of consultants. An enormous amount of what passes for consultancy is actually just a cover for money laundering and for corruption. There's a reason why the Victorian government, for example, just to cite, well, I'm not saying there's specific corruption here, but I'm just as an illustration, they've spent, what is it now, $300 million on consultants around a proposed Victorian treaty. How do you get to $300 million? How could there possibly be $300 million worth of advice to give and consultations to have? The answer is there aren't. There aren't. They're paying for something else.
Yeah. Just on this comment here, Sir Pitt, I went to Salesian because I was a little private school twat, just so you know. Sunbury, good old days, eh? Yeah. On the 300 million, so can we talk about Jerome Wymer? You know who I'm talking about? Good old mate Jerome?
Yeah. Like shaved head dude. Why do I know the name?
Yeah, so he's he has run every department into the ground and keeps getting a pay rise. So he was on transport then moved across to the
right.
COVID Commission, then moved across to the Commonwealth Games Commission, now is on the suburban rail loop, and old mate Jerome is on almost $700,000. So 2 things are happening here. One, either Jerome has some dirty big secrets that he is holding the Labor Party to hostage with, or he is really good at fellatio. I don't know.
There's something going on there, because the results, this is the thing. You look at any of these people and you ask themselves, if they were in the private sector, would they have gotten to where they are? And the answer is obviously no. There's a private sector reality, an unfortunate private sector reality. There's a saying I'm sure you've heard: everyone gets promoted to their own level of incompetence. And this is a problem that particularly large organizations really struggle with. Someone comes in, they do a really good job, they get a promotion. They do a really good job, they get a promotion. They do a better than average job, they get a promotion. They do an okay job, but they're seen as a rising star at this point. So they get that one last promotion and they end up above their real genuine pay grade. And then once you've promoted them all the way up to their level of incompetence, where they're no longer competent to do the job, that's where they either get stuck or in the end they get shuffled out. Right. And it's an unfortunate dynamic. It's just a real world kind of thing. It's a little bit hard to avoid, to be honest. But what happens in the public sector, they have reverse incentives. So instead of running over budget being a bad thing, as it is in the private sector, running over budget is a good thing in the public sector, because it means that you need a bigger budget next year. You can go back to the government of the day and say, well, this is proof that we need a bigger budget. And in bureaucracies, you've got to understand, the senior brass in a bureaucracy get paid according to a certain level structure. And the level that you're on is determined by the budget that you manage and the number of staff underneath you. So the bigger your department gets, the bigger your paycheck gets. I'm slightly simplifying, but that's broadly speaking how it works.
Yeah.
So you have a personal vested financial interest in running over budget and over time and needing more money and more staff, because that bumps you up a level and you can get more pay. So instead of in the private sector, everyone gets promoted up to their level of incompetence and stops. What happens in the public sector is it seeks out incompetence and rewards it and lifts it up to the highest levels.
Yeah. I just thought we could indulge in his LinkedIn profile and just have a look at what Jerome's been up to. So let's just rewind back here. So obviously was in the UK for an extended point of time, has come to Australia and landed himself a chair of the board position. Interesting. Wow. And then transfers across into Department of Transport and becomes the head of transport services.
Yep. And makes perfect sense. Yep.
Executive Director, Performance and Contract Management, which is interesting because then he gets moved over to become the CEO of Vic Roads. Then, of course, because who better to run the COVID-19 response than the CEO and the Minister for Transport than Jerome Wymer, who became the commander of the COVID-19 response.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then moved across into the Chief Executive Officer of setting up the organising committee for the 2026 Commonwealth Games, which we cancelled, and they cost us, what was it, $500 million to not host them.
Listen,
and then, of course, hang on.
That's cheap at twice the price. We paid $1 billion to not build the Eastlink freeway link into the Western Ring Road,
and then went on to essentially build it anyway. So we paid $1 billion to not build the road, and then we built parts of it.
Parts of it, yeah.
Now, then he became the Deputy Secretary Housing Statement Implementation. Don't know what he did there. And now he's the Secretary of the Department of Transport and Planning. And old mate Jerome is on heavy money for this.
So hang on, I'm just trying to put that career together. So what was he in before transport?
Hang on, let me go back to his thing.
Early on.
So he started his position in a Greater London Authority of Transport and Performance.
Okay, so he started in transport.
And then he was Chief Operating Officer for the Transport for London in London. This is in 2000 and... Hang on a minute. How did he get ballooned to these senior positions so quickly? None of this makes sense. Hang on a minute. We're going to go back into this. All right. Let's scroll back to his LinkedIn.
Can I give you my punchline first? That it all makes sense, because as the Minister for Transport, he didn't see them as potholes. He saw them as stadiums for the upcoming Commonwealth Games.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's not one of your best, but
You got to take the bad with the good. It's mostly bad, but you got to take the bad with the good.
So here we go. He was a senior consultant, worked on major restructuring programs for the financial services sector. He's not very good at that. It had a large government department. Okay, so he's been in government since day one. Professional advisory work for private and public sector clients, right? Senior economist, and then interim director of performance in transport. Then he comes across to Transport for London. Then he comes across to MD Transport, also in London. And then moves across to authority member, non-executive for the British Transport Police Authority, then chief operating officer of the UK bus service, and then parachutes into chair of the board for V-Line when he moves to Australia.
And that went well. That went brilliantly. Yeah. Yep. I can completely, that makes perfect sense.
Everything this guy touches turns to absolute shit.
But that's why he gets promoted in the public service. That's literally, that's all your resume has to say is everything I touch turns to shit. I have the reverse Midas touch, and you'll get promoted.
What's his current salary? Hang on, this is going to make us all angry. What is Jerome Wymer's salary? Let's live Google. It is $762,000.
Is that all? That's a week, yeah?
I
wouldn't want to insult him. A man of his talent, I wouldn't want to insult him.
All his perks and under-the-table handshakes.
Well, see, this is the thing. They don't need the under-the-table handshakes anymore. What goes on? Well, this is part of the and thank you, Riot9, for the compliment there. I'm glad you appreciated my my frogs and crocodiles video. I did. I was fairly happy with a few of those puns in there as well. The corruption in plain sight. Corruption we don't think it's corruption because it's not brown paper bags anymore. Have a look, and I've thought about doing a video on this, but the research side of it is just a bit too time consuming. Have a look at how many defence ministers, for example, federal Australian defence ministers, have retired from politics and immediately been given cushy, well-paid board positions on defence contractors and defence contracting companies. Usually the ones that they gave big defence contracts to. Now, the excuse, the narrative is that these companies need people on the board who have experience in government because they deal with government all the time, and so they need their advice and their perspective and blah, blah, blah. That's the narrative. But what's happening in practice is this person, while they're a minister, hands a multi-billion-dollar contract over to that manufacturing company, and as soon as they retire from politics, they receive a multi-million-dollar a year board position from the company that they awarded a multi-billion-dollar contract to. And this happens with enough regularity across enough different, this is not unique to defense, and it's not every single one of them, by the way, but it's a very significant proportion, that you have to start to wonder, is this actually just an open secret, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine type of arrangement where it's simply expected? If I give you that contract, we don't have to sign anything. It's just a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You're going to look after me afterwards. Because if you don't, then my replacement, the new defense minister, is going to be looking at that going, I better give the contract to somebody else. Right. And so it goes on through generation after generation of politicians. Corruption in this country mostly happens in plain sight.
You've just watched another short clip from the Oddcast. And if you'd like to see the full video, it is over at our dedicated channel. That is the Oddcast HQ on YouTube. We will see you there. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and have a chat in the comments.